Hello, this is Shred Ninja, also known as Infinite Hope, and I'm going to teach the Sailor Moon collectible card game to Lewis and Iron Liz that are on top the fourth wall, and anyone else that might want to learn this game. Okay, so there is a basic game that has this flavor taste. Basic game, do whatever. Ignore it! Forget about it. The advanced game is way better, and I'm playing against Sailor Mercury, so she's got Sailor Mercury and VR goggles and a monster out. The initial setup of the game, ignore all this will be used later. The initial setup of the game is your deck, and out of the deck is 60 cards total. Out of there, you're going to pull one level 1 Scout or Knight, their person or item that they start with, which is indicated on the bottom of their card. It will say what they start with, and a monster that's worth 1 VP. So your remaining deck will be less than 60. 57 cards. I had to count. Yeah, I know. Not good at math, but I am good at Sailor Moon. At the end of your turn, you'll bounce to 5 cards. At the beginning of the game, you also bounce to 5 cards. The exception is Artemis. If you have him out, you'll have 6 cards total. But normally you bounce to 5. So you have 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you put them into play. Now, you can there is no restrictions on pretty much, there's only one restriction we'll have to deal with. So I could drop everything into play. Yes, you can level up on turn 1. Yes, you can put out your monster. This one wants body, so I'll give it a body. Sailor Moon wants soul, and eventually she might use anything. So this symbol means anything. So soul, anything. And this means body, and this is mind. Okay. So that would be turn 1. I emptied my hand, then I would draw to 5 again. So at the end of your turn, you draw to 5. You bounce to 5. At the beginning of each turn, you draw a card. So if you, for whatever reason, didn't use everything, you'd have to discard down to 5. Okay? At the end of your turn, you have to have 5 cards in your hand at the end of your turn at least. So whoever goes first cannot attack. So round 1, I cannot attack. Mercury, if she's player 2, would be able to attack me. So I have to set up rather quickly. The alternate to that is that both players can't attack on their first turn. Whichever way works best for you. Usually I go with neither player can attack on their first turn. It's a little bit more balanced and fair that way. So whoever goes first, they go, then I get to attack. So I actually do get a benefit from going first. Whereas otherwise the second player would be gaining the benefit. That's pretty basic. We're going to talk about the different types of monsters. I'll go ahead and leave her level 2. No, we'll leave her level 1. So let's talk about that, because there are 3 types. There are Nigiverse Yama, Doomtree Cardian, and Dark Moon Droid. They become Nigiverse Villain from a Nigiverse Monster, Doomtree Villain from Doomtree Monster, and Dark Moon Villain from Dark Moon Monster. So I saw them do like this, and I was like, no, that's not how it works. We're going to cover first how monsters go to the next stage. So it works in a round. So if this thing has been out, my turn first, Sailor Mercury's turn, my turn again, and I had a villain, the villain could replace my monster. Now how that works is this monster is removed from the game, or I like to call it moon dusted. So it's gone, and there's a reason for that, which is this card, Runaway. Basically, this is a defense event, which we'll get into in a bit. But has this guy go to the discard pile. So the reason why we remove the monster from the game is so eventually I'll run out of monsters if he keeps running away. So it's a bit of a strategy there that I have to be careful about. There is another reason for it, but it's not in the first set, so we don't need to worry about that. Knights. So you have Prince Darien, Tuxedo Mask, and Moonlight Knight, and all three can be out and play. I can have one Sailor Moon out, one Prince Darien out, one Melvin out. I could have 4 Narcids out, so I could have 4 of her out, but I can only have one Nephlite out at a time. So monsters are not limited per one on my side of the field, and they can have the same on their side of the field, doesn't matter. So on my side of the field I could have 4 of the monsters, whatever monster I wanted out, and so could they. It's been my experience you want maybe 2 monsters and 1 villain out, or maybe 3 monsters. That more than that gives them way too many targets to pick from. I also want to talk about the 2 different types of defense events that happen. There's a keyword, avoid, and then prevent. So if you see a card that says attack is avoided, what that means is they'll be able to attack back if they can fulfill the requirement. If it prevents, that's it. So we'll go into how attacking works. So we're going to go against Fro/Blizzard. They combined 2 Yamas because they didn't want to make a monster card for every single monster they had. So a lot of them are 2 names in one. So I gave her 3 so she can use Moon Healing activation for 40. If you had a location, the location would trigger first. Locations are in the second set. Then you go to Monster Defense Event. Now your opponent decides whether or not they want to use it. If they don't use it, then you just skip to defense events that come from the hand. If they do use it, you have to resolve that first. Then after defense events in hand comes power discard from hand. For every power card you discard from your hand, you minus 10 damage. So if you're doing 40 to me, I could take it. If I decided to not do my defense event, I decide I don't have any defense events in hand, but I do have a power I don't feel I need, I discard it.
Reducing damage to 30.
If I'm doing 40, and my opponent decides to use Encase in Ice, and they win the John Compound, then instead of doing 40, I do nothing, and that's it. They don't get to attack back. They don't get to do defense events from their hands. They don't get to do anything else. That's it. We're done. If you had Water Sprite with a couple of soul energies on her, then you could do Fly Away, discard that, you avoid attack, and then you could do Spike Tail, which you have to discard this and do 60. So not only do you do no damage to me, but I do 60 to you if I had the power on this card to do that. That's how monsters work, though. They do not do anything until they're attacking you. Okay, the monsters do not attack each other or anything like that. They sit there and look pretty until they attack them. Now, you might think, well, I'm going to be clever and build a deck without any monsters, but there's a rule that covers that. If they have nothing out, no monsters, no villains, for every scout or knight that you have that has at least 2 power of their type, you can automatically defeat your lowest VP monster or villain that you have in play. So here's a 2 VP monster, boom, defeated. Your turn. You still have, my turn again, still have nothing out, boom, another 2 VP. And so you want to have at least 1 villain out. The other thing is, if I have damage on me, I can rejuvenate instead of attacking. And I have to have at least 1 monster out. If I don't, then I can't rejuvenate at all. So if I have, for every monster I have in play, I can discard 1 power. So that would be 20 damage per power I discarded. But if I had 30, then 1 more to discard the rest, and I'm fully healed. But if I happen to have a villain and a monster, then I could only do 1. So I'd only be able to do 1. That would get rid of 20, but I'd still have 20 damage on me. You play to a set number of victory points, 4 to 6. I've gone up to 10. 10 is a nice number for me because I like long games, but 6 will probably work to get to understand how the game works. So that's one way of winning. If I kill off all their monsters and then I start defeating my own monsters, like that, I could probably quickly win. The other way that could potentially win is if they manage to kill themselves off. If Mercury attacks Nephlite here and he does 60 to her and that was their only scout in play, well, that's it. They lose. So the game is really balanced in favor of the monsters more than the scouts. The scouts and knights really have to do a lot of teamwork and build up before they can take down stuff easily. And even then, it's a challenge. So you have to balance your deck out when you build it between how much you're going to focus on the scouts being able to attack and also defending your monsters and villains from their attacks. Villains are pretty powerful usually, but they're also worth a lot more points. One thing that they lamented during the film was how Shad worked. And Lewis said, well, I play Cram Skull and then I could just keep drawing 2 cards every time. Does it really work that way? Well, yes. You would bounce to 5. So here's my hand at the end of my turn. And let's say I played, now it's my turn, Shad. Okay. Cram Skull. Okay. Now what can I play? Well, I can play Moon. I can play... Has this been in play 1 turn? If it has, I can play my villain. Gone from the game. I can't play Mercury. If I didn't want to play any of this, I have to discard down to 5. So eventually, Cram Skull's going to get buried under their stuff unless I put everything into play. And I could. And then balance to 5 again. But eventually, something's going to happen where I play some defense event or regular event. I want to add 20 to my damage. Oh, there goes Cram Skull. So eventually it will get buried. But yes, Shad is very useful. By the way, one of my favorite monsters avoids and damages and has a good health. Joncon Pow. Okay? Please play it. It's part of the game. Don't just flip a coin. There are at least a couple of cards that matter for that. But even if you're not having those cards, ties are fun. I know ties are annoying, but it's part of the thing. Here's one. This has win, tie, and loss. So this one actually matters for that. Now, during a Joncon Pow, if I lose and I have 3 power in my hand, I can discard 3 to force a replay. So we play again. Boom. Oh, Mercury picked rock. I still lose. She always picks rocks because her feet or her hands are balls. So if she lost, I picked paper, and she had 3 power. She could discard from her hand and force a replay of the Joncon Pow, and we could keep doing that until we don't have power in our hand. The most I've ever done it is twice in a row. There is a card, Moonstar Locket, that lets you replay when you lose. So you can do it on your opponent's turn. You can do it on your own turn. So you can always force a replay of Joncon Pow. Attack sequence. Once I enter the attack phase, I can't do anything else. So if I want to use combat training, I use it before I enter the attack phase. There's only 1 item in the game, 2 items in the game that you use after the attack phase, and that's Luna Pen or Luna Ball to copy a Luna Pen. That's it. Everything else must be done before you enter the attack/rejuvenation phase. I enter the phase. Location, defense event on a card, defense event in hand, power cards discarded, attacks back. That's how that works. Combined attacks, which are overly complicated in my view, but I'll explain how they work. You have to have at least 2 scouts. Let's go against Malachite. Why not? 2 scouts in play, at least, or knight. Scout/knight, whatever. They must have 2 power on them of their type. So Moon would have to have 2 soul, Mars needs 2 soul, Mercury would have to have at least 2 mind on her, Prince Darien or Jupiter would have to have body on them.